Hi, everybody. How is everyone today? First, I want to say thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody that comes in and tries to help one another, and you know, give a little support to each other because that's why we're here. So, and of course, I have with me Nels, and I have Doc Fearsome today. So, Doc,
Greetings and
why don't you tell us a little bit about
salutations.
yourself?
Oh, I'm nobody. I'm just a dude that hangs out. Uh, I don't know. I used to be a patron on Patreon, and I kind of fell into some financial straits a little bit. So I had to mellow out on that for a little while. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to that. But other than that, I don't know. I don't do much.
Don't do much. Fair enough. Well, I know most
I'm not
people.
a I'm not a content creator, so
Well, I mean, that doesn't mean you're not somebody. That's ridiculous. You're somebody. We all know. Like everybody's seen you around and talked to you in the chats, and so we all know that you're a pretty nice guy, and you have a at least fairly intelligent from what I've seen. So that's a good start. So
smart enough to fool them
so
from time to time, I suppose.
right. So, what point in your life did you feel like you had any issues with what was going on around you or your environment, or when did you start noticing anything?
I suppose around college, I mean, my major was psychology. I only got an AA degree, so I don't have a degree in anything really. But I suppose it was then I was starting to like understand mental illness more and start like admitting that there's probably some goofy shit wrong with me.
Right.
And I don't know, certainly I didn't get through my experiences unscathed, I don't think. So I've never been officially diagnosed with anything, but uh I read up on things like ADD, not the hyperactive stuff, just the attention whatever.
Deficit part of
you,
it, right?
you can probably detect that right in how I talk. But every time I read up on it, it's like, yeah, that's me. That's me right there. Yep, that's it. That's me. um,
Right.
Introvert certainly. So, and I'm at least a ADD introvert. I suspect I have some kind of dissociative disorder of some kind. Uh, I'm guessing it would diagnose as a mild sort of schizophrenia, maybe, or something else. I don't know. Uh, a little bit of OCD, sure, especially when I was a kid. Uh, I seem to have kind of grown out of a lot of that. It was a lot worse when I was a kid. Uh, and I don't know. I don't know what else.
Doc, do you think there's any
Oh,
single event or events in your youth that kind of pushed you into the OCD thing? Did you notice any specific change at some point in your life?
uh, yeah, probably. I think there is plenty of things. Uh, I don't know. I probably don't want to go into a lot of it live just yet, but
Understandable.
Yeah.
yeah,
Some things are just
I
hard to
mean,
talk about.
I can
I
even,
have a few things I'm holding back on.
yeah. I mean, certainly, yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff, and everybody's really a little bit OCD. It's just in our culture, in the modern era, the post-industrial age. Um, and it's just certain weird little things uh, like when I was a kid, if I was walking and my legs brushed together a certain way, I had to brush it back to undo it. Silly shit like that. But
Yes, I
to this day, I
I
don't like.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, to this day, I got over that sort of thing, but to this day, I don't like stepping on cracks. Um, Sometimes I like to do things a certain way, especially when it seems like it works. And if it works better than how I'm trained at a job or whatever,
Right,
uh,
right.
there can be a certain amount of stubbornness from time to time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I also have little things like that. Like I can't wear itchy clothes. Um, I don't know. I have like tactile. I call them tactile issues. I'm tactilely challenged, is what I usually say.
Yeah, I don't like
Yeah. So
wearing really itchy stuff. Stuff that
yeah, I can't.
irritates you.
Yep. I cut all the tags out of my shirts. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I buy the ones that just don't have the tags anymore. It's just sort of printed on the inside of the shirt.
Right. Right.
I
Exactly.
cheat.
So I'm sorry, I got distracted by chat. They're talking about something about honeybees. I don't know. Anyways,
Hmm. Hmm.
so yeah, I wasn't, I was never diagnosed either with ADHD. I figured it out on my own. Because not only am I distracted easily, but I just can't hold still half the time. I used to get my butt beat all the time in school. I was always getting paddled at some school I was at. So it wasn't that I was necessarily a bad child. I was just so easily distracted and had trouble focusing and would go off this way and kept getting in trouble. So I absolutely get that. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that we all have some form of OCD. There's little things that drive us crazy. I like the front seat of my truck has to be neat and kind of organized, but the back seat can be a
Yep.
total mess. And I'll leave it like that for months. I'll just throw stuff back there and then I'll go, okay, it's kind of bugging me now. And I clean it all up and then I start throwing stuff back there.
So you
The
finish the
cycle
soft drink and
resumes.
then you just throw the container in the back.
No, I throw the containers down on the front floorboard so I can, in the front seat, so I can throw it out. That has to be thrown out. I don't like food containers or drink containers in my vehicle, but extra sweatshirts, tools, random tools, extra sunglasses because I need 3 pair, stuff like that. I just chuck it all in the back seat. Oh goodness.
Yeah, I'm light sensitive as well. So yeah, I know all about the sunglasses, and you got to have a spare stashed here and there because yeah, I've been left without sunglasses. I've had to walk an hour home to work from work without sunglasses.
Right.
It sucks.
Yeah, I'm very light sensitive, as a matter of fact. Of course, I have blue eyes, so almost everybody with blue eyes has light sensitivity. Because there's
Yep.
actually no color in our eyes, so people with colored eyes have kind of like an umbrella, so to speak, and we do not. So they actually, people with blue eyes actually has a reflection of the sky or clouds or whatever around you, and we're perceiving it. Our human eyes perceives it as being blue.
Yeah.
So, fun fact. Yeah, I was diagnosed with PTSD, but never anything else. So I'm kind of like you. I investigated. I talked to people, and I noticed people with similar traits as me, and would ask them, hey, blah 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 blah. Once I get to know them, and they'd tell me, and I'd go, oh crap, that's what's wrong. That's what I have. I have a label for it.
Yeah, and well, and chronic depression is another one of my issues as well. Once again, not diagnosed, but I mean, come on, how much
I was
time do you have
diagnosed.
to, how much
My-
time do you have to spend in such misery before you figure out, that that's a thing. And I do wonder if I have a little bit of PTSD from I mean, a lot of my upbringing was extremely negative, and it's pretty much on my mind all the time. So, yeah, I seriously wonder that.
It's hard to beat crap that is pounded in your head from your childhood. Like, people just don't get how important it is to be a good parent. If you're even if you're an okay parent, but if you're a bad parent, 90% of the time, I'm going to say 75 to 90% of the time, you have screwed that child up in some way for life.
Yeah.
They have to deal with that for the rest of their life.
Because you want to have an obedient child. And the steps to make you an obedient, you're taught to be an obedient child, not a good child, an obedient child.
Yeah.
And in life, that's kept me from standing up for myself in a lot of cases. There's times that I've needed to defend myself either verbally or socially, and was just completely unable to respond to things because I was not able to. I was always stifled, offering my opinion or saying something, and then there was the threat of getting hit for it too.
Yeah,
so it's very, very hard to stand up for yourself when you're stifled all the time as a child.
Yep.
So Doc, you had the same issue? See, I did too. I still to this day, well, actually up until a few years ago, I would apologize for everything. Oh, I'm breathing. I'm sorry. Let me get out of your way. I'm breathing. Because it was such that children should be seen and not heard, and you don't interrupt adults, and you got to shut your mouth and listen. And I'm not faulting my mom for it. It's just the generation I was raised in. It was more my father, I think, than anybody that influenced me in that direction. Because once he was gone, mom was, you could go up and ask her anything, and she would try to answer it the best she could. So I feel like it was more him than anything. But yeah, it is stifling. It is, and you have to beat it out of your head that you don't have to apologize all the time. So that's why when I see people saying I'm sorry all the time, I know that it stems from their childhood, from being stifled. So I always tell them to stop. What are you apologizing for? So, and that's what we have to retrain our brain like that. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? You have to catch it and analyze and try to retrain it. And it's difficult.
I think you can be deprogrammed, deconditioned. We're all conditioned with things.
Right.
But of course, that becomes more and more difficult and extremely difficult the older you get. And at a certain point, it may become impossible, but perhaps you can still learn, techniques to sort of cope with it, at the very least.
So did you come to learn any techniques to deal with your stuff? Is there anything that you said, oh, hey, if this happens, I do this and it really helps?
I don't know. I do things that seem to help. Some things I can't really mention because I live in Iowa, so enough said.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
It's not a legal state. So, uh, I don't know. I don't know if it exactly works, or I guess it just kind of depends on, your goals and how you define things. But I hide. I hide from real life. I don't. I avoid social interaction as much as I can. Spend a lot of time alone.
I'm inclined to think that that's how this entire internet community of ours has come to be.
Yeah.
I agree. We have a lot of people that are introverts slash antisocial slash just can't handle being around other people. So yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
It's taxing, and I'm a social creature like anyone else, and I need social interaction, and I do have a friend or two that visits me from time to time, but uh, I just don't need a lot. I get all the social interaction with real people I need at work, and I work overnight, uh, where where I work alone, and don't see very many people except at the beginning and end of my shift.
Right.
And that's enough. That's like all I need.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of like that too. When it comes to after work, because I'm around the public all day, and I get home, and even on my days off, like if I have one day off, I'll just stay home all day on my day off and just relax and enjoy the quiet, and which is funny because I talk so much, but my cats don't seem to mind. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and certainly the social media stuff helps, even the side chat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is plenty of social media out there to keep you company if you don't want to physically be near people. So
Indeed. But
so you
I think
go ahead.
Whatever techniques I use, humor has been the best for the chronic depression. It is very temporary, very short lived and fleeting, but I'm very empathic. Empathy is a very, very big thing for me. Um, and learning people's individual perspective is very interesting to me. Always has been since I was a little kid. So I definitely get an empathic charge, a very positive one, when I can make people laugh. Um, I make them laugh, and they feel happy even for a moment. I can feel that, and it's very nice. And it's about the only thing that really, can take me away from the depression. Uh, but once again, it's really only for like a few minutes. It's very, very short lived, very fleeting. But
Yeah.
it's very nice. It's the best thing.
It is rewarding
Yeah,
to be able to
and,
make
you know,
somebody laugh.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm right there with you on that, Doc. I'm also, I feel other people's emotions. If someone's angry around me, I start feeling angry. You know, so he's happy, I feel happy. So I tend to, while I'm at work and dealing with people, I tend to joke around a lot. And I mean, not only do I want that person to feel good, but it makes me feel good. So it's a win-win, you know.
Yep.
So I do tend to do that, and I feel the same way you do. I know that even in my relationships, if someone gets upset and mad at me, I instantly get mad, and I don't even know why they're mad yet. I don't even know what I did wrong. You know, and
Yeah.
it causes problems in relationships like that when you feel all that. So
Yeah,
I
and
totally get that.
yeah, it's pretty intense, and when anger is directed at you, it doesn't feel very good. You know,
No, it
when
feels horrible. It's almost painful.
and disgust is another one I'm very familiar with, and it sucks.
Right. Nels, I'm sorry, I ran over you. What were you gonna say?
I forgot.
Oh, fair enough.
I had a
Fair enough.
million
I went to
thoughts
say
since
something a
then.
little while ago. I went to say something a little while ago, and he was still talking. By the time we get to the end of it, I was like, "What was I gonna say?" I was totally
But
listening to him so much, I forgot.
but it did remind me of an incident that I had many years back. You say like the ability to make somebody laugh. Was spending the night at a friend's house. We had a party and we're playing music and everything, and spending the whole night there. Person who owned the house, he late night he's in the kitchen with me. Wonderful man, nice man, but he had all these terrible problems. He had arthritis that like his knees were like the size of basketballs, and he comes into the kitchen. He goes, "No, I don't know what to do. I just feel like I'm at wit's end. You know, I'm in pain all the time." And he's telling me his sister's got cancer, and it was like all this stuff just tear your heart out. And then he looks at me, and goes, "What can you say? What do you say when there's nothing left to say?" And I just kind of looked at him, and I don't know, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And he burst out laughing. And he gave me a big hug. He goes, "I knew you'd be able to make me feel better."
Right.
That's very nice.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's good to make people laugh.
Oh dear.
Where'd everybody go?
I think I'm still here.
Beth has been abducted by aliens. Confirmed.
It happens.
And she's back, we think.
We hope.
She's buffering.
Okay.
There we go. Yay.
There we are.
We-
Did you have
we
a nice
missed you.
break?
Yeah, it's like it had that happen before. Very interesting. Anyways, so what were you guys doing while I was gone?
We had a party.
That's the fastest
We-
party, and you cleaned up so well, I can't even tell.
we pulled off our fleshly disguises and revealed that we're really lizard people.
Oh, lizard people. Now that could be convenient in my situation. You know, it's never mind. I'm not going there. Anyways, forget it. That's another.
He's a
stream. It's not
lizard,
this
a
one.
monster. Do you want a hamburger?
Oh,
I actually
so
know somebody that
go ahead,
used to
Nels.
believe in the lizard people. I hope she doesn't believe in the lizard people anymore, but yeah, I knew somebody who was into that. They lived in the hollow earth. It's like whole new
Oh.
level of wacky.
That's interesting.
Good times.
What was I
good
going to ask?
times.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you, Doc. So, how has this affected, like, throughout your adult life? How's all this affected, like, relationships? And not necessarily like, I mean, friendships, you can add that in as well, but just relationships in general.
Well, I have very few friends. Haven't had much romantic experience, and that's actually kind of a sore spot for me anyway. But I don't know. Like I said, I just tend to avoid people and um, just spend a lot of time alone, keep to myself. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's like in broad strokes, you get social attention from people, and it's generally either positive or negative. And some
Right.
people seem to do all right uh, getting whatever attention they can get, even if it's negative. Uh, I found, growing up, mostly I only got negative attention, so I decided zero attention was far preferable. So that's what I
Yeah.
usually do. Stay at home, get zero attention.
I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that. Yeah, I dated someone who was single for about 14, 15 years and introverted. And it was very difficult for her to let me fully into her space.
Hmm.
And it just ended up being that she's just not good with living with anybody. That's pretty much why we split up. I'm
Hmm.
more I've become a more personable, affectionate person, and she's like, stay, most of the time, stay away from me, don't touch me, kind of person. So it was really hard to.
Hmm.
Um, we were good when we lived apart, and we decided to live together, and then the problems started because I was in her space too much. Um, uh, yeah, so it's tough being on the other side of that stick as well, and trying to, because there's nothing you can do to help. I would always try to help her, and I sometimes I'm an over helper, but she was like that. She just wanted to. She knew, like, she would be okay if she just stayed at home, worked from home, and did all her computer work from home, and just stayed home all the time. She would be absolutely happy. When this whole isolation thing came up, which, by the way, I prefer physical isolation because we're not social distancing and we're not socially isolating. So when this whole physical distancing and isolation thing came up, she said, I was born for this shit. I can't wait for them to send me home. I'll work from home for the rest of the year.
Indeed,
So yeah,
indeed. Yeah,
yeah. So
it really
being
hasn't. Yeah, it really hasn't changed anything in that regard for me. Just, I mean, it makes going to the store a little more awkward, but uh, I mean, and Iowa never like went into like a full mandatory lockdown, but a lot of stuff was shut down because it's all opening up again. But
right,
uh, yeah, and I still have to go to work, and my job is, I don't know if it's officially considered essential. I was never actually told I was essential so much, except by my manager, who was like, well, we still have to have somebody at the desk always. So there I am.
right,
And
right.
I work in a hotel, so like my risk of exposure is actually, know, it's fairly risky, but on the other hand, my shift is the least risky of all the shifts. So
Right, because pretty much everybody's sleeping. So you just go around and do your work.
Or they bloody well should be.
Yeah.
Well, and then we just release the gas, That's how we take care of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that always helps. Little sleeping gas. Yeah.
That's
Knock 'em
right.
all out.
Everyone's guaranteed a restful sleep.
Yeah, right. Exactly. At my hotel, we'll make sure you sleep well. Absolutely. Yeah, so you felt introverted your entire life, or did that start around college too? Were you always like
College
that?
was when I first heard the terminology. And
Okay.
as soon as I heard, started learning about it, it was like, that's totally me right there.
Right.
And
Right.
since then, I've watched some YouTube videos on introverts, and they talk about a lot of traits and explain a lot of the behaviors of introverts, and a lot of it is pretty accurate with me, but some of it is like, no, well, no, that's not me so much, you know. So everybody's a little different, and introvert and
Yes.
extrovert is a spectrum. So I think everyone's a little extroverted. Like I said, I do have a few friends, and I do look forward to the next time I get to see them.
Right.
I have actually not a lot, but a lot of other friends I would like to see more often, probably should go visit more often, but with the depression thing too, most of the time I just want to go back home after work and just chill and unwind, get away from everything, scream to the walls
Yeah, I
about
can.
the shit night I had, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, Nels, how introverted did all of your trauma make you? Like, did it cause you to be more introverted than you were prior?
I was a very quiet child, so I think the introversion was it was there in my youth and very young. I was always the quiet kid, the one that would sit and play with his toys, and everybody would forget I was in the room.
Oh, okay.
And then when I got out of high school, I guess the legal age for alcohol in New Jersey at the time was 18. So when I got out of high school, I started playing in a band when I was still a senior in high school. So I was playing in bars. At that point, I found that there was a social scene with, going out to clubs and bars and meeting people that way. So I got in my 20s, I became more socially inclined, and there was parties and stuff. And that probably wound down around 30 years old. Things started to really I started to fold up again. You have a few bad incidents, and then you tell yourself, like, no. I think my mugging, when I was 20, 1986, when I was a victim of violent crime, random victim of violent crime.
Shit.
And I started to become less social as a result. Oh, yeah, I was put in the hospital. And and I watched the court. I also watched the court system fail me too. So that was that left me
Lovely.
Yes.
that left me with my tail between my legs, looking for a table to crawl under. And so yes, after that, and that's the PTSD stuff started to kick up into high gear. It was already in place from childhood stuff, but then when it started to really well up, that's by the time I was in my 30s, I started to really become more introverted and socially awkward again.
Right. So for you, Doc, have you always been as introverted? Has things made it worse? Have things made it better? Is it lessened?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I was, very, very much the same. Very quiet for the most part. I had my moments. Um, I suppose, where, I mean, there's a lot of times growing up in school, I had people's attention and certainly didn't want it. But I think there were a few times I enjoyed some interaction. I did have some good teachers, mostly mediocre teachers, and a few pretty damn awful ones.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, eighth grade English class. That was pretty bad. Like, okay, it was, you know how most mothers tell you, even my own mother told me this. If you have nothing nice to say nothing at all, right?
Yes.
It's a very good policy that I live by today, but the unwritten rule for especially the popular kids and the shitters was the exact opposite for me. If you didn't have some deep cutting, vile thing to say to me, you were not to speak to me at all. That was the rule. You gained status by ripping on me, and you lost status by expressing any sort of kindness. If you're being friendly to me, you were my. Yeah, I mean, there were nice people that acted like jerks all the time. I know this because when their friends weren't around, when no one else was around, we'd even get into conversations. They'd be friendly with me. But I swear to you, as soon as one of the shitters came along, they would stop mid-sentence and come out with some shitty insult and pretend that they were berating you the whole time. It could not be seen being kind to you.
Right, because if they did that, then they would be bullied. Absolutely.
They would be the second bottom rung of the social ladder instantly.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy how that happens. But I had the same thing in my school. Every school I went to that's exactly how it was.
Yeah. So that's the rule my eighth grade English teacher followed. He thought he should look cool in front of the popular kids. He should be the most popular kid in school, really. Insinuated himself in the social dynamic of the student body. And that's pretty fucked up. The teacher doesn't belong there. Does not belong there at all. No. So every day at school, he had to make some rip that would get the entire class to laugh at me. And I especially remember one day I was chewing on my pen. Gee, I was a nervous kid, so that was just, that was normal for me. He comes by, rips it out of my mouth and says, we don't choke on our pens in my class. Although if you did, there would be no loss to society. And
oh my God.
The rest of the class, of course, ha 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 ha.
Hopefully you can't get away with that now.
The next year, he ended up getting fired for allegations of touching a girl in his class. So.
Oh, I bet.
So fuck you, asshole.
I think one cool thing with you. I'm sorry, go ahead, B. One cool thing about younger people now is that they all have their own cell phones and they can record in classrooms. And there's been a number of teachers that have been basically busted with the evidence right there for being verbally harassing or physical abuse. And it's like, the evidence is right here. One of your students just filmed it. In my generation, they could have never got away. They could have got away with that, but now kids can, film wrongdoings.
Indeed.
Well, I think with all the stuff going on in classrooms these days, from teachers abusing students to students abusing teachers, that every single classroom should have a camera in it, running 24/7.
I agree.
Because most of the time when teachers do something wrong, it's in their classroom. It's their safe space. So
Yeah.
I think that they should be recorded all the time, and that way, even if a child hurts another child, it's going to be on video. There's going to be no debate about it. Problem solved.
I admit some ambivalence to that, but I definitely, part of me agrees with that. I mean, surely as a kid in class, I don't want my shit recorded because I want to be able to be naughty and get away with it. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, from the perspective of an adult, certainly, and especially when you're entrusting the care to your kids to these adults. I mean, it does sound like a
Absolutely.
good idea.
So, did you ever talk to your parents about all this crap going on at school? Did they do anything?
Well, I had single parent mother. My father was out of the picture when I was 7 weeks old.
Wow.
And oh yeah, I told my mother everything. Most of what she's a pretty powerless individual, really. I love my mother deeply and dearly, but I did inherit a lot of crap that I can't really blame her for. But I mean, she said she was experienced a lot of the same stuff. I mean, our whole family was really kind of hated, so
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's horrible. And
Yeah.
also the time frame that you were in school, women didn't have a lot of power.
No,
the wives
and
didn't go in and talk to the teachers. That was the male's job. So, if you're in a female in a male world, which I've spent most of my life, I get that. It's hard to, before I was born or when I was a baby, it was hard for a woman to come up and go, "Hey, we need to take care of this. There's this problem with my child." When it came to the woman's side of thing, it was whether the child was hurt or if they ate or if they had a bed to sleep in. That was all on the woman, but everything else the men controlled. So yeah.
Yeah,
makes it a hard time to grow up in.
Well, yeah, and she was and is very meek, common trait amongst Iowans. So it's she really didn't know how to stand up for herself and didn't teach me how to stand up for myself. Sometimes I'd have friends that tried to teach me that, and there have been a few times I have been able to do that, but for the most part, I'm not very good at it. So, I just grew up pretty much taking people's shit and just living with the fact that, I just, never get to play their reindeer games. So,
right. It's a good way to put it.
Putting up with people's shit is part of that fear of alienation and abandonment. So you end up being a people pleaser, and you end up succumbing to behavior that you're really not happy with. But if you don't do it, you run the risk of being alienated and abandoned. So we all have abandonment issues. It's just a little bit more intense with some of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you go out of your way to make everybody happy to your own detriment.
Absolutely.
I don't know if my situation was a little different. I mean, I didn't care about these assholes' happiness. My my technique was just, just staying out of the way, staying out of the limelight, as much as I could, um, and just sort of tough it out while it's going on, and hopefully later I can just be alone and watch cartoons and tell them all to fuck off.
Right, and that's what that's the bad thing about it. Excuse me. It starts a cycle of, oh, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I'm supposed to, and then somebody's mean, and then you go home and you keep your mouth shut more because there's nothing you can say to solve it, and it just snowballs into more introversion and more anger and resentment build up inside of you. And as far as your mother, she was probably raised the same way and stifled even more than you were. Like we were
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
very
earlier,
much so.
that you children should be seen, not heard, and it was a whole
Yeah.
different a level of you better shut the hell up and go play. You weren't allowed to have an opinion until you were like 17, 18 years old, and then you could start acting like an adult. So,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
and she and I inevitably, but she more so, lived what we call a very sheltered life. I mean, they, the family didn't really interact with a lot of people. Not very sociable family. Uh, I mean, and my mother was just dirt poor, like literally lived in shacks. Like there's old photos of the shacks they lived in, like literally, shitty pieces of wood slapped together. Uh, she grew up in the 50s and they had no indoor plumbing. They had to shit in an outhouse.
Right.
My mother said there was many, many winters when she would wake up in the morning with a layer of snow on her covers. So
Yeah, that's messed up.
it was like fucking Little House on the Prairie shit, and she didn't even have it that swanky.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that too.
and
And oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
and me, it was pretty much growing up in the slums, slumlord houses, uh, you know, because it was cheap rent, so they didn't feel the need to fix anything. Uh, so I didn't grow up in shacks per se, but not the fucking Taj Mahal, I tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Nor was I born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Yeah.
Trailer
Mostly
houses,
single
my
mom,
30,
pretty much single
40-year
mom
old
raising six
trailer
kids.
houses.
Yeah.
I'm so
We
damn
lived in one of
sick of
those
trailer houses, my God.
You
I
knew I go when I
recently
could buy
moved.
a trailer and build a tiny home inside of a trailer. I built one. So see, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just moved out of one into, it's a studio apartment, 300 foot by 300 foot, teeny tiny, but it's practically like a room. Uh, but hey, I I'm so sick of mobile homes. I'm so sick of it. I'm glad to
Yeah.
be out of it.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you. And it doesn't matter what size it is. Like some
Oh,
people say to me,
I
"Well, how
don't
can you
need.
live in such a tiny space?" Because my space is smaller than yours, sweetheart. Trust me. Like I'm like I think I'm at like 90 square feet or something stupid. Anyways, I don't know what it is,
Whoa.
but I don't care about that. It's where you're comfortable, where you're happy, and I've noticed that a lot of people with certain mental health disorders don't want to live in, like, I don't feel comfortable in a big space. I feel like tiny and alone in a big space. You know, I like being, and I didn't realize that until I became a truck driver, and being in that cab all day, and in the back of the truck where the bed is basically your home, you know, when you're not working.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's when I realized I like this. I like my little cocoon. I like that little dark place. I sleep good, you know.
Your own little nest.
Yes. Yes, it's exactly. Yep. It's exactly right.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I don't have a lot of stuff, never have. I can't afford a lot of stuff, so
It's
you
just
know, you
stuff.
just
Can't take it with you.
well, you just learn to live without it. I'm 45 years old. I lived without it this long, you know. I guess I'm doing all right without it.
There you go.
I do need to get a damn microwave, but space is even an issue there. There's really no counter space for a microwave.
Get an air fryer.
Oh well, I'll figure something out. I get a
I'm
little
telling
like
you, I bought a little
I
$40
get
air fryer at Walmart, and it's better than any microwave in the world. Screw microwaves.
yeah, I want to
It
get one
just
of
makes your food
those
mushy.
air cookers. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
you
great.
can still
And
make
I like I said, $40 at Walmart. Like, that was the best deal I found
really.
yet. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I can't remember what the brand name is. I can't see it from here, but
Our
yeah, man.
toaster's
Well-
in the living room. We don't have room in the kitchen
Toaster.
for the toaster.
I literally don't have space for a microwave, and that's why I was looking for alternatives and found that air fryer. I was trying to find those little tiny convection ovens, but they don't make them small enough for me. They're still too big for the space I had. So, yeah. I have a very tiny home. But it's also a lot less to clean, and it's very cozy, so I'm very
Oh,
content
yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's the very very good part. Not a lot to clean.
Right.
Perfect for
So,
the
Doc,
lazy
do you have any
bachelor.
right? It's pretty much where I'm at, buddy. Lazy bachelor. I mean, I clean and rearrange and do stuff all day long at work. I come home, I don't want to do that shit anymore.
Yep, exactly. That's
Once a
pretty
week.
much all I
Clean
do
the
all night.
shit out of I clean the shit out of everything once a week. That's what I do. And the rest of the week I just kind of maintain until I get to that one day off. Oh.
That's the way to do
I
it.
was gonna ask you, Doc. So no siblings, no brothers or sisters?
I do. I'm the youngest of 4 total siblings. So
Okay. So on top of your mom dealing with being a single mom, she was dealing with the problems of all 4 children.
yeah,
top of that,
and my father was just mine and my brother's dad, and so he was around for like almost my brother's first 5 years. And he was a bad man.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So you know, my brother remembers my dad a little bit, but you know, I only saw him like 3 times in my life. When there was a couple times my mom actually brought us to see him, to visit him, just because she never wanted us to later in life accuse her of keeping her from our dad. But he never seemed to have any interest in me. He never spoke to me. Never spoke a word to me once. I don't know the sound of his voice. So, oh well.
Yeah, I think I understand that. The only thing I ever got from my father was, did you do it? or can you go get daddy a beer?
Mm.
I
I
was
got that all the
basically
time.
a shuttle. I was a shuttle system between the couch and the refrigerator, which was only like 15 feet apart. So he could have his beer. And I got a little bit of attention, so I fell for it every time. And I couldn't stand the taste. He'd always I'll give you a sip if you get daddy his beer. And he'd give me a little sip, and I'd be like, thanks, Dad. Ugh. You know, it was horrible. But I kept doing it because he was talking to me. Oh my God,
You know,
I'm alive to him. That's great. I'll
and he's
drink
sharing
that
stuff
beer.
with me, even if I don't like it.
Yeah, and then when I got, they divorced. My mom kicked him out. They divorced when I was 8, and he instantly moved in with the woman he was cheating on her with. He had no problem with that. So
Hmm.
lucky of a guy. Anyway, so I would go over and visit, and I remember being 10 or 11. No, I think I was almost 12 years old, and visiting him, and we're watching old John Wayne movies because that's pretty much all he would ever watch was John Wayne and stuff. Louis L'Amour was his favorite writer, and we were sitting there drinking beer. He didn't know what else to do. He handed me a beer. I'm like, okay, I'll drink a beer with you.
Mm.
You're paying attention to me. Excellent. And there I was still doing it at almost 12 years old, you know, and I was almost to the
Yeah.
point of being cognitive of it. And then after that one visit where we were drinking together, I went home and I said, you know what? My mom said, what? And I said, I don't like Dad. I just don't like him. I think he's an asshole. And I thought for sure I was going to get in trouble. And all she said was, everyone is entitled to their own opinion of any individual. She left it alone. She let me have my opinion about it. So,
Well,
yeah.
That's something good, I guess.
Didn't want to out loud agree with you. Yeah, you're right.
Well, she never talked bad about her dad. She always said, he's lost. He needs to find his way. One day he'll come around. He'd be a good father if he could just find his way. You know, like that's all she never said, oh, he's horrible. Fuck him. Never. Like, I think until the day she died, she still loved him because she knew him before he became an asshole. So she always loved that Navy guy that was hardworking and good with his kids, which is the part I never saw because he did it with the older kids. So, yeah. But you're right. I did get that, and that was she was an amazing person. I really got to say she made up for 75% of him not being a good father. She was just amazing.
It's pretty much agreed upon the therapists and child psychologists in that you should not berate your spouse to your children, and they're pretty much all in agreement because half of that is you. You know, half of you're one half of one parent, you're one half of the other parent. So if you're ripping, your spouse a new one to your kids, you're actually like tearing them apart as well. So it's very unhealthy to criticize, no matter how bad it is. It's very bad to criticize your parents. You're the other parent in front of the child.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing.
Well, I mean, it really is.
And I don't have any children of my own, and I never will. You're welcome. But I definitely don't. I definitely don't think I would make a good parent. But if I ever decided to be, I would prefer to adopt. I'm pretty sure my genes are fucked. I don't, and I don't want to pass on my father's genetic legacy. I kind of wish my brother had followed that advice, but at the same time, I don't want to like disparage his kids, I don't want to have any kind of bias toward his kids. But I'll still, stick to my idea that, if I had a better father, I might be more inclined to pass on that genetic legacy, but no, thank you.
Right.
If I could
But
if I could snip his out and engineer something better, then then I'll consider it. But there's plenty of kids that need a home, and if I thought I could be a good parent and afford to raise one, I would love to give a kid a home. A kid does
Right.
not have to be my flesh and blood to receive whatever benefits I can provide to a person and help a
Right.
person grow and thrive.
Yeah, my hope has always been that each generation of a fucked up family will say, "Oh, this part is bad. We need to quit doing this. My parents did it with me," and not do it with their children. And that's really the key, is to not carry on the same actions and traits of the previous parent. You have to break the chain. That's what I call it, breaking the chain. You got to
Yeah.
break the chain. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I know people whose parents beat the snot out of them when they were kids, and then they had kids and they beat the snot out of their kids. And I'm like, well, somebody's got to break the
Mhm.
chain, man. You can't just keep doing that. We've found out is psychologically damaging. It's not okay to, beat your children with a big, huge paddle or ruler or something. No, you can't do that. It's not okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So someone has to break it. And luckily, the person I was talking about, their kids and stepchildren have broken that so far. They don't do that to their children because they learned that sucks, and they just will not do it. So hopefully they broke it.
Yes, indeed. I feel like things have improved a little bit in that regard. I think more people are cognizant of that, and less and less children are getting beaten today, at least a little bit. And it's a long road, but I think the species is on the way there.
Yeah, well, it's a hard battle to get that. It's just like we were saying earlier. It's hard to have something instilled in you as a child, and then as an adult go,
Yeah.
no, wait, what? No, that's not right. And whether it's your own mental health or how you treat others or how you react to others, it's hard to break that chain. So,
And for me anyway, and I suspect it's pretty much the same for everyone, it puts me in just a constant mental battle with the things I was taught and things that were ingrained in me, and what I want to do, the person I want to be, and the
right.
person I was, the person that these people crafted and raised, is not the person I want to be. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be sexist. I don't want to be prejudiced about anyone. I know, I've always known since I was a little kid that everyone is this individual. There's this seed of consciousness there, just like I have. And
Yeah, I mean, it's really all
that's
about
very-
it's really about breaking bad habits. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah,
They're bad habits that
it
are
totally
instilled in us.
is.
My father was a judgmental racist, and so when I got older, I realized that was most of what I despised about him. And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to be him. I refuse to be him.
Yeah.
So I had to catch myself and self-analyze. And when I was like 37, I believe, I think I was 36, 37, I had the aha self-analyzation, like really dug through my own soul and was totally honest with myself and cried for 2 days. And I came out so much of a better person because I had to own it, and I had to admit what I was doing wrong, and I had to admit my flaws and my faults, and the fact that I was judgmental, and the fact that I was biased against certain people of certain colors, ethnicities. So I really had to. I mean, it's hard to do. It's really it's instilled in you. You know,
Yeah.
children learn what they live. If you live as a racist, they're going to learn to be a racist. If you live as an asshole, they're going to learn to be an asshole.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I think, I couldn't get over a lot of the bad habits, really. What I ended up doing was more along the lines of conditioning, like an additional trigger. It functions as a safeguard. It's you know something that snaps me to attention to myself when I'm doing something or about to do something that I no longer approve of.
Right.
And it holds you back. So, there's mental energy expended with that, with this internal conflict, this constant, altercation you're in with the person you were. So, I mean, some habits and some things I think I have gotten over completely and just, phased out of it entirely. But there's still a lot of stuff that it's like I had to put up some kind of defense.
Right.
So it's still there. It's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still there. It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's the kind of stuff that continues to make me hate myself. These things are still in me. And can I look at it? Buddy. Can I, really separate it? Can I really look at it as something that infected me, or is it me?
Introspection's a rough road.
In my opinion, I'm sorry, Nels, go ahead.
I'm just saying introspection is a rough road. We'll jump through hoops to try to not to admit certain things to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult to be totally honest. It's hard enough to be totally honest with other people. The most difficult thing I've ever found is to be totally honest with myself. And that is, man, when I finally got to do that, it's kind of like I was saying about last summer, Nels, like just that weight. I lost another 20, 30 pounds. And it's so very important to be honest with yourself. Because the bottom line is, any of us that have some kind of a mental health issue, which pretty much everybody does, it just varies in what you have and in degrees of intensity. But anybody has any kind of a mental health issue. Oh, man, what was I going to say? I did it again, Nels. I looked at the chat. Oh, my God.
I'm trying to stay away from the chat. That's on the other side of the room.
I know. I got to quit looking at them. I'm trying to interact with them as well, and it's messing me up.
But those things that you have in you, those elements that you have in you that you really hate and you wish they weren't there, they're kind of like inoculations. Like a vaccine. They give you a little bit of something that makes you sick, and your body responds, and it prevents you from something else that might make you really sick. So you get these the word I'm looking for, imperviations in your psyche. It's a little something that fucks you up, but once you can come to terms and realize it, and you're willing to realize it, you've protected yourself from more harm. So you've kind of been, even though you've been hurt, it inoculates you from suffering more from it. But getting to that spot is really tough.
And inflicting that suffering on others, the contagion. Your analogy is really spot on, man.
Thank you.
It's an excellent way to put it.
and that is the hardest part. That's where I was going with it, being honest with yourself. That is really hard to do, because the bottom line is that stifling that happened when we were younger has turned into adult stifling. And because we're not allowed to talk back or accuse anybody of anybody else, we have to be nice people, we take the burden of what other people have done to us and put it on our own shoulders. So then we're holding that going, oh, it's all my fault. You know, it's another form of a victim. It's my fault. I did it. No, and most of the time it's not our fault as all. There's nothing we've done to deserve it. We were just born, and here we are. And people have given us all this crap, and life has handed us shit. And we somehow blame ourselves instead of pointing fingers at the people who most of the time it's someone you either love or you care about still, or an aunt, an uncle, grandma, grandpa. They're dead. I don't want to disrespect their memory. But the bottom line is we have to blame that correct person and quit blaming ourselves, because until we quit blaming ourselves for shit and quit apologizing for all the shit that we got from that stifling, we're never going to learn to love ourselves totally. And that is the hardest thing I've ever internally dealt with in my life, is learning to love who the fuck I am. And you can't do it if you keep blaming yourself for what other people have messed up in your life. You have to blame those people, lay the blame on them, quit apologizing, and realize that you're a good person and it's not your fault. And if you can do that first step, you will leaps and bounds after that. Leaps and bounds.
Yeah, that is definitely hard. I can't imagine a day when I'd actually love myself.
Neither could I, until about 10 years ago. So you just have to. It's the only way out of that rabbit hole, man. You gotta look at the light, be honest, realize that you're obviously intelligent, you're obviously hardworking, you obviously have a good heart. You've just been stomped on and kicked into the ground so much that it's hard to come back out of that hole. And I would love to see you come out of that hole.
A lot of that kicking and stomping is when you're a victim of gaslighting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize till recently that's quite a bit what people were probably doing. I don't know if people were trying to make me think I was crazy, but they were certainly trying to make me think I was beneath them.
Well, that's the whole
and
game.
less valuable, less of a contribution, more of a burden.
That's the whole game that people that will gaslight you are going to play. If they feel that they lack morals, they'll tell you what a dirtbag you are, just so they can feel like they're moral. It's at your expense. Or if somebody doesn't have a whole lot of somebody doesn't have a whole lot of responsibility, and maybe subliminally it's eating at them, they'll start lecturing about, why aren't you being responsible, when they're the ones that are not the responsible ones. But in the long run, you're the one that feels like you're irresponsible, you don't have any morals, you're dumb, because you're spending your time hanging out with people that are irresponsible, immoral, and dumb, and they dump it on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They suck you right in.
So you think you're the broken one. I went through that with my first therapist, and basically she said, you got to get a new set of friends. Your friends kind of suck.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had much of a problem with that. I don't know, I guess there were a couple instances, there was someone who I cared for deeply and, thought was my friend. Definitely one of those who was nice to my face, but when the popular kids came around, it was time to rip my asshole out. So I eventually came to a point with that person where, you know what, I'm not wasting my fucking time with you anymore. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of this fucking roller coaster, tug of war bullshit song and dance you keep playing. Are you my fucking friend or not? You know?
Right.
And
Right.
if
And
you're
sometimes it helps
ashamed,
to get angry. Sometimes it helps to
if
get
you're,
angry. It gives us some
yeah,
balls to stand up and say something. Like, damn it, I'm finally mad enough that screw being stifled, screw being the perfect little disciplined child. I'm going to speak my mind, and it's hard to do. It's therapeutic though. It's absolutely therapeutic.
yeah. Well, and it came to a point with this particular person I'm thinking of. You know, it's like if you're so fucking ashamed to be talking to me in a civil way when somebody else comes along, then you're obviously not my fucking friend. And you know, I'm
Right.
better off. I'm better off without your influence and your negative attention.
Right. You know, something that really, there was one thing that a therapist had me do that really, I thought it was stupid at the time until I did it. But she had me, it was my first therapist, she had me write letters to people. Don't mail them. Write letters and either keep them, rip them
Just
up
get
and
it
throw
out.
them out. Yeah, and it's amazing. Like I started out like, oh, I'm going to write like one paragraph, and I ended up with writing a letter to my mother and my sister. Well, the one to my sister was a page and a half, and the one to my mom was like 2.5 pages. Where and it felt good, man. It felt good to get it out. And if I started having those kind of same issues where I was before, I'd go pull them out. I'd pull them out of the filing cabinet and I'd read them and cry and get it out. And it's so therapeutic. It really is. I mean, if it's someone, the way I see it, my opinion is, if it's someone you love, you keep the letters so you can continue to heal from losing them. If it's someone you hate, burn the letter, burn it. You know, take it outside, light it on fire, throw it in the fire pit, and move on away from it. Because otherwise, that person is just going to eat at you. And the thing that gets me about it is those people that treated us like shit when we were younger and influenced our life so much, they're not bothered by it today. So we're letting those people still have power over us because they've moved on, they have good lives or whatever. Most of them, you know, I've checked back on people that treated me like shit when I was younger, and they're thriving. You know, they're in the medical community and they have great jobs and they went to college, and here I was screwed up and thought I was a loser and couldn't do anything with my life. So, you know, sometimes it's good just to write, and if you want to send it, send the fucking letter, send it. If you think it's honest enough that you want to send it, but I suggest burning that shit. Write it down, burn it, and watch it slowly burn up. Because they're still controlling you. And fuck that. That's how I feel about it. Fuck that. Nobody's gonna control me but me. Besides the, you know, general work and taxes. So.
I heard somebody once say, if you wouldn't let that person live in your house, why would you let them live in your head?
There you go. I like that.
That's good advice.
I like that.
I don't know, and
definitely.
That's
ahead,
that
Doc.
may be where I kind of think I might have PTSD, because it is extremely difficult for me to do that, to get them out of my head, you know.
Yeah.
I don't see
thought.
it as, you know, I don't see it as a matter of letting them there. They're, you know, unfortunately they're there and the damage is done, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll certainly, you know, take your guys' advice, you know, to heart, and you know, see what I can do about that, see if any of that works.
Well, I mean, it's worth a shot if you haven't tried it. I mean, it helped me, just like I was telling them before. I had panic attacks and anxiety attacks all the time, and I just started getting mad at it. I was fed up with it. I finally get to the point after uh almost like 20 years. Yeah, it was almost 20 years that I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Why are you? You're not going to control me. Why? I'm letting this control me. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it ruining my day. I'm sick of it ruining my night. I'm sick of having nightmares and insomnia because my brain won't stop because this is just keeps rolling around and rolling around in my head, and it freezes me sometimes, and sometimes I just feel anxious all the time. And I mean, I sat on the toilet one time for 30 minutes and I couldn't move because I had such a severe panic attack. I was just sitting there, frozen solid. Thought I was having a heart attack and dying. And so I just started getting mad at it. I
Those are the
cussed it
worst
out.
panic attacks. The worst panic
Yes.
attacks are the ones that physically manifest themselves in racing heartbeat, accelerated breathing.
Yes. Oh yeah, I felt like I was gonna pass out. I was dizzy. Probably didn't help that I was sitting on a toilet and my legs had no circulation for whatever amount of time that was. It might have been even 45 minutes. I'm not sure. It was a long time. But yeah. So
Completely off topic, but that's not from actual circulation of your blood, right? The whole limbs going to sleep thing. It's actually your nerves that you're blocking, not your vascular system. You'd actually be in a lot more trouble if
thought it
your
was
limbs weren't
both.
getting blood.
I thought it was nerves being affected and a decrease in blood flow. I thought it was both. So if I'm incorrect, thank you for correcting me.
You might be
I didn't
right,
know.
but all I heard was that it's actually the nerves you're kind of crimping off and
That makes sense.
blocking the signal, because like your limbs can't go without blood for 5 minutes, much less 45 minutes. You'd be in real big trouble.
No, I didn't mean like totally cut off. Yeah, you wouldn't have a foot left. Yeah. No, I didn't mean that. No.
It might be just that you're constricting the blood vessels, increasing the blood pressure at certain points, and blocking off nerve endings like deeper in your limb or body,
Right. Right.
That might be what's having to do with constricting your circulation. It all adds pressure. We're just like water balloons, or like we're made of water balloons pretty much. So everything's fluid and sacs pressing together.
Right. Well, guys, we've been on here for almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
My phone's pretty hot.
Yeah, I get it. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Doc, for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing. I know it's difficult to come on here and talk about yourself, and but I hope at least talking about it some made you feel a little bit better. And of course, if there's anything that Nils or I can do, you ever want to talk offline or through messages or whatever, I know Nels feels the same way. We'd be willing to talk to you anytime. Any advice we can give, any ideas we can throw out at you. Yeah. So we're here for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And talking
we're
certainly
not therapists,
does,
but we're all on the same team.
Yeah, and just an empathetic ear goes a very, very long way.
Exactly.
And it certainly does make me feel better. So yeah, thank you guys very much, and thank you for having me on your channel.
And Doc, you're coming on here and sharing your experiences might help somebody else share their experiences. That's
what I hope for. Lessons in how not to treat people.
Right.
Especially kids.
Yeah, that too.
especially
Yeah.
kids, damn it. I mean, their little minds are developing and they're fragile, and it's so important, you know, the things we do, how it affects them.
Yes, they are little.
Yeah,
They are
I'm
little balls of clay, and we start
I'm
molding
quite
them.
mindful of that.
Yeah, and how
I'm a
much
mu-
water
I'm a
we
mu-
use, and whether we paint them or bake them or let them be wet and reform them later. That's what we're doing with kids. They're totally in the palm of our hand, and we have absolute control over how they're going to be, you know, when they become older and try to be a functioning adult. So yes, please think about what you're doing in front of your children. It will
Yeah.
fuck
All
them up
kids.
for life sometimes. Yes.
all kids. I'm a music teacher. I teach a lot of kids, and I always try to be highly cognizant and mindful of, like, don't say something that's going to discourage them. You know, don't patronize them, but, you know, try to be a real mentor. You know, like, inspire.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah,
You're probably helping those
exactly.
kids be better people when they get older. So good job,
I've seen
Nels.
some of them. I've been teaching for 44 years now, and some of my former students are adults and good musicians in their own accord.
Nice.
So I did
Right.
something right somewhere along the line.
Good job. So I want to say one more thing before we go. Anybody that knows Mama Atheist, which I think everybody pretty much in the chat does, she is right now going through a procedure, and to hopefully stop her chronic pain from being so horrible.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's in surgery right now, and so if everybody just kind of keep her in your thoughts. If you want to go on Twitter, I would love, please, I'd love it if you guys all went on Twitter and just sent her a message. Hope you're doing okay. Just, you know, hope everything went well. Everybody just send her a message real quick and show her a little love. She's nervous about it, and she's been dealing with a lot of chronic pain for a month and a half, and she's going to have 10 days of hell with these probes in her back until they find out exactly where they need to numb the nerves coming from her legs. So she's going to be in a lot of pain for 7 to 10 days, and then she will have relief. So if everybody just wants to send her a little well wishes, I think that would be great, and it would make her feel really good when she came out of surgery and turned her phone back on. So
Yep, that does sound cool.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
that sucks that she's going through that.
oh yeah, it's been like almost 2 months now. Her device in her back quit working, and she's just been in constant pain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I heard
been really tough on
about
her.
that, and that really sucks.
Yeah. So anyways, so if everybody wants to do that, I mean, no pressure from me. Kidding. No, I'm pressuring you. Go send her some love. And Nels, thank you again. You're an amazing co-host. I really appreciate
Thank you. It's my
the time and
pleasure.
effort you put in everything. And Doc, absolutely thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was great talking with you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
It was
Doc is
good.
awesome.
So if you guys, any of you guys feel similar and want to talk to each other, you know how to get a hold of each other, Twitter or Discord, or
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll figure out emails or something. So yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks again for a great stream, and Nels and I will probably see you on Saturday.
Love
And yeah,
and peace.
that's right, baby. Big hearts.
Love and peace.
Peace.
Yep.
That's
Everybody
right.
be good to each other.
Yes, please do. And I love all you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.